All right, guys, it is Thursday, the 15th of April, 2021. So if you've been following my thread here, me trying to get my 55 ready for Darryl Starber's car show in Tulsa, which is in like 13 days. Probably not going to happen, but still going to try. And I'm not rushing through. If I don't make it, I don't make it. It doesn't bother me none. It's just the car will be that much closer. If you've been following along, you know I had an issue with fuel pressure being too high. So I had to put a inline fuel pressure regulator in to tone the fuel down a little bit. So I ended up ordering a HP series black anodized Holley fuel pressure regulator. And I have spent almost all day building the bracket to mount that. Because I really spent probably a good hour this morning just trying to figure out where I'm going to put the stupid thing before I come up with I would just put it there. So I ended up cutting the original bracket off that come with the regulator. It's a little piece of angles, all it is, with 3 mounting holes. So I cut it off, and I actually trimmed the face down a little bit. But anyway, I built one big long piece of angled strap here. I actually cut it out, drilled some speed holes, and then I built another piece that comes down here to go to the head with the unused head bolt holes there. So it's all mounted up there. So now it has a piece going up and a piece going over, so it won't be moving around. You know, if I would have just done the front one with one bolt, it would still move up and down. So it's pretty firmly mounted, and I'm pretty happy with it. So it was a lot of work, but the design and figuring out how I'm going to do it was the most interesting part, you know what I mean? But I think the speed holes are pretty cool because it matches my alternator and some of the other stuff I have in the car, but it just kind of gives it a little bit more detailed, especially when you do a curved bracket. And this is what I made it out of. This is just an old crappy piece of hot rolled steel I had here. This is like 1/8 inch thick, and you can see where I cut it out here. I actually cut both of them out. I cut one out here and one right beside it, but I used that to cut it out with, and then I finalized it, you know, cut it out a little big and then finalized it, smoothed it up and edged it, and used a barrel roll on the inside curve. And I drilled the speed holes in it with a step bit, and then I used a countersink bit to get them chamfered a little bit so they kind of look like a dimple die in a way. Here's actually my template right here for the bottom piece. But it was a lot of work. It took all day, but I am happy with it. I think it looks kind of cool. I'll end up wiping that whole thing with body filler or putty, probably just some 2-part putty, and prime it out, and then I'll block it real good, and then I'll paint it like a satin black with, you know, automotive paint. I'm not going to put spray paint on it, especially a fuel related part. That piece goes for that. But anyway, I was having a lot of trouble this morning trying to figure out where I was going to mount the stupid thing, because I mean, normally in my race cars in the past, I've mounted them on the inner fender or I've mounted them on the firewall, and I'm not going to do that to this car in either place, because there's nothing on my inner fenders. They're completely smooth, and I'm not going to do it on my smooth firewall either. But this thing is supposed to be mounted close to the carburetor, so that was pretty much the only thing I could come up with. I thought about taking the filter out and putting it here, and then putting the filter in line to go into the line down to my pump, but were the inlets on the very bottom of this thing, so it was going to be right above the edge of the valve cover and intake there, so it's just going to be too much of a mess, so I just did it that way. So it's in at the bottom, and it has 2 outs if you have dual carbs, but I just have one, so this one got plugged. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. Now the only thing pretty much left to do besides do the bodywork and paint on the bracket is I need to cut my braided hose down and put a straight fitting on for the bottom of that. So that fuel line will go right into the bottom straight and go straight down right in and screw into the side of the pump. So I mean, overall I'm pretty happy, man. It took way longer just trying to figure out the design of it, and then pretty much making it out of a whole bunch of different pieces of flat and bending them on the sheet metal brake and welding everything together. It was a mess, but it looks cool. I think, anyway. I'm biased because I built it, but man, what a mess, I tell you. I'm about half tempted to make another piece the same width and plate this in and roll it around the back and then weld it all up so it looks all boxed in, but I actually think I'm done. I'm done with that thing. It's time to body work it and Well, after dinner, I'm gonna fit my hose, cut it down, put the new end on, and then get it all fit. And then I'm gonna break it down to paint it. But I'm happy with it. So it's all speed hold there, the alternator speed hold, alternator bracket speed hold, my A-arms are speed hold. I got speed holes everywhere. It's not even a race car, but I got a speed hold. My throttle linkage I custom made's all speed hold. I guess you kind of get the idea, but this is what I made it out of. It's just a big old piece of hot rolled steel I had here. This is like 1/8 inch thick piece of plate. And I used a cutoff wheel on a grinder and went around there. This is what I use when I do all my metal work. Is an electric grinder with a 4.5 inch cutoff wheel. I use the DeWalt cutoff wheels. They're .045. I think they have some .40s if I remember right. But anyway, these are I think they're called HP series. And you can see that red part on that deal right there. It means it's stainless and metal cutting. The HPs last a lot longer than the standard old cheapy cutoff wheels. But the thing I like about using cutoff wheels on a grinder is you get a straighter line and it cuts it 20 times faster than using an air, like a die grinder with a cutoff wheel on it. If you've ever tried to cut something straight with an air die grinder, it takes you like 2 days, and when you're done, it looks like waves in the ocean because their line ain't straight. These cutoff wheels, when you put them on a grinder, you get that slot started and you drop it down in there quite a ways, and it puts the tension in your cut between the blade here, so you end up with pretty straight, nice cuts. And you can see everywhere where I cut straight lines, it looks pretty good for just freehanding it. But I cut that whole thing out with that grinder there. But it took a lot of cleanup. And then in doing the speed holes, pretty much calipered everything out to get all the correct spacing. And then I use a step bit. Well, I do a pilot hole with a little bitty drill bit first. Then I use a step bit. And then to get them chamfered where they look like a dimple die, I use a countersink bit. These are actually for wood, but they will work on the steel, you know, to kind of chamfer the edge a little bit. Just cleans it up, makes it look a little better. But anyway, guys, that's the update for today. That was pretty much my day project right there. Was just trying to get a fuel pressure regulator on a car. So lots of work, man, lots of work. That thing will look real good after all the body work's done and it's painted, you know, cleaned up quite a bit. And then paint it black, you know, satin black, it'll kind of disappear anyway. But anyway, that is your update. I'm gonna go eat dinner, and I guess I need to put up my welder and all my crap. Thanks for watching.